Hi everyone, my name is Natalie Dawson. Welcome to Leader Talk. This show is proudly brought to you by Brainiact. Each week we are meeting with incredible leaders from around the world to discuss all things leadership and business insights. Each person coming on this talk show has given up their valuable time for one very clear purpose: to give back to small and medium business owners. Now, we all know that trust is crucial in business, but what strategies are the most effective when it comes to building and earning trust with our clients? Today, Gus Arianto and I are fortunate to chat to our guest, Marina Pullin, Managing Director of the Jungal and founder of MCBI. With over 20 years in management consulting, Marina has driven positive change across various sectors through smart technology and people management. And Marina is here today to teach us all how to build and earn trust with our clients, which in turn leads to positive customer relationships and also the power of saying no. Welcome to the show, Marina.
Welcome. That's quite an intro. I'll do my best.
We are excited to learn from you. It's going to be a fun hour.
Okay.
Now, we've got two fun questions we always ask our guests when they come on the show. And the first one, given your background, we had to ask you this one. If you could have an app that solves any daily annoyance at all, what would that app be and how would it work?
I know this app. I want someone to build this app. So I go out to lunch quite a bit with clients and people, and I want an app that keeps a track of who paid for lunch. So let's quickly log it, because I don't know how many times we go back to lunch and we're like, "What did you pay for it last time? Did you pay?" And we have talked about it to say someone should build an app for that. But
that's an interesting one. I've never thought of that, but it's true, because you do sit around that table and go, "Whose turn is it?" Right?
Yeah. And you can just do notes. You can log in. You can have a reminder to set another lunch date. Yeah, easy.
If anyone's going to do it, it's going to be you, Marina. So we'll leave that one
to you. I just talk about it all the time. Like, so someone should do that.
Well, any business owner listening, there you go. It would solve our daily annoyance.
I will be the face of that app. Not that that's probably a great motivator, but I will prototype it.
Amazing. And what about as a child? What did you want to be when you grow up?
I wanted to be lots of things. I was probably, in hindsight, quite an annoying child, very annoyingly curious, and would swap and change. I wanted to be a florist, then I wanted to be a prime minister. But my big persistent love was I wanted to be a film director. And anyone who's worked with me or is friends close to me know you'd never, ever get me talking about film directing. And I was all set. I was going to go to NIDA. I had even practiced my Oscar speech. I was doing the whole, this is what I was going to do. But maybe for better or for worse, I was good at maths and, that type of tech. I got into technology, and it has just become a hobby. So, but maybe, I'm still young. I can do lots of things. So maybe one day I'll meet Scorsese.
Have you ever studied it though? Like, did you pursue it? You did.
I did art. I'm probably a weird combination of skills. I was intrigued by arts and philosophy. I'm an avid reader, so I was sort of like always on that social science side. But I'm pretty good at tech. So I was this weird combo, and I did theatre for 9 years, like just amateur, and was in a few films. But my passion was being behind the camera. There's something about film and a film director that is quite similar to what I do now, because film directors observe things and they have to bring together sometimes huge amounts of people and ego, and you have to actually be able to see it from a different perspective, which is definitely something I do in my job now. So I guess I got a tiny little bit of film directing in my life.
It's an interesting perspective.
It's actually a really interesting profession. And it's hard. It's technically hard as well. So you can see a good film director versus a bad one pretty much within 10 minutes of the movie. So yeah,
well, that's what I would have been
if I'd had my chance.
Never too late. And when you are the director of the movie, we would love to have you back on Leader Talk and talk about it from the lens of a director. That's amazing. And what about your story, Marina?
Creepy.
You've given us. Sorry.
Yeah. I was going to say, I'm a bit creepy with a couple of my friends who are film directors. I sort of ask if I can like carry their cases. Can I like just hang out? And they're like, yeah, no, you're very unqualified. So,
well, this is a little bit of an insight to you, but there is so much more to your story, Marina. Before we go on into the questions, can you just tell us about yourself, your story, your professional career, the Jungal, MCBI, just for our audience, so we can understand who you are and, all this great knowledge that you're going to share with us today, where it's all come from.
Wow. I'm probably at my core, I don't think I've really moved on far from that annoying, curious child who was always into things. And I've always had like a ridiculously insatiable appetite to learn things. And my poor parents had to endure it as I did all sorts of dreadful things at home, like rewiring the telephone. That was one of my favorite incidents. And I think in that core is my personality, I'm just naturally curious. I would say my career really started, this might sound strange, but my career really started when I was bartending. Like most people, just hustling to get through uni. And I was fortunate enough, is my first career as a bartender, to work for a guy called Slim, who taught me. He was a Hong Kong bartender, and I was so lucky to meet. We crossed paths. I feel so grateful because he actually taught me about customer service and how the act of service, how it can actually change a company and a business. I was always intrigued by business, so he was such a great person to sort of meet me at that point of my career, it is my career. I mean, a lot of people who were, I was changing bins, and they probably wouldn't have thought of it as a bin, it's a bin changer, as a career step. But for me, it was. I came from a family that believed if you're going to do something, do it well. Just do it. Do anything you do, just do it well. So I learned how to change bins really, really well. I eventually left that world and then forged a career with a bunch of big corporates, worked overseas, did work for some really big, iconic companies, and had a fantastic, really, really great career. During that period of time, I think my left brain was well served. So I like to master things with that curiosity. So I got lots of the credentials, learned how corporates run systems, learned a lot about running teams, I had a stint with IBM, and I was completely in love with IBM's commitment to innovation. And that changed me a bit like Slim did. I thought the way they did it and their views on innovation was very pragmatic, and I just loved it. So it really shaped me. Being a management consultant by trade, you sort of get into the what we call like the sausage factory when you actually get inside management consulting. And for anyone who's in professional services, you will know what I'm talking about. It's after a period of time, you can become quite disillusioned. And one thing I learned in my career, probably thanks to Slim when I think about it, is that customer relationships, doesn't matter how big or small you are, if you don't manage expectations and you don't serve customers well, you're going to have problems. And, and I think I probably just got a bit disillusioned by the big corporate slug, and it is hard work. So then with that burning curiosity, that thing in me, I thought, you know what, I can't do this anymore. I did have one of those moments, an ethical moment where I went, I can't participate with this level of, was poor level of integrity. So I walked out, I quit on the spot pretty much. And I ran home and said, that big fancy job, yeah, it's no longer in our life anymore. So I'm not reckless. And it wasn't totally off the cuff. I'd thought about it, and there was something, I was no longer in harmony with anything. And it was affecting my health, my performance, and all this stuff. And they convinced me, this company who remain nameless, they convinced me after that dramatic, don't want to do this anymore. They convinced me to stay for one more gig. And it was really interesting because I'd mentally gone. And I did this gig, and it was the best gig of my life. I knew what I needed to do. I didn't care if I was going to get fired. And I led and did some pretty cool things. But it was largely because there was no fear. And I developed this confidence around what I actually knew, which I didn't have before because I kept waiting for people to validate me. So that was like a massive point. I went, that's it. I'm going to have a go. I'm going to see if I can back myself out there in the big, harsh world. And I did. And I thought I'll go for a year. Hopefully I'll be able to pay my mortgage. And that was 18 years ago. And now fast forward, I started learning in development company because I do believe people make or break businesses. But I probably am not conventional in my view around that. I don't think it's just about keeping people happy because I'm not a proponent of chasing happiness. I think that's a bit of a scary thing to do. I think if you get the right people, a bit like a sports team, I guess, if you get the right people in the right spot, they will thrive. And so I've definitely, chased down the people side, and we built MCBI. That's now like an award-winning, workforce development company, has clients around the world, and it's good. It's small, and it's probably a great passion of mine, seeing how people and businesses transform from the inside out. From that business, we had a division that was doing resourcing, and it was just sort of, people invariably, or clients would invariably say, "You guys are great. Do you know anyone who could do this?" And this division sort of started organically, mainly because of the proximity and the trust that we had with clients. That division then started to overtake everything else, and it grew and it grew. And the mantra was pretty much the same. It was just finding like-minded people who were happy to be of service, who were great at what they did, and were really trustworthy. And what we found is that clients gravitated to it. I'm a big believer in great systems for clients and people, and I saw the opportunity to build a technology platform that would help reduce some of the friction and the inefficiencies of that relationship. At the same time, the world was seeing a transformation around relationships. We were seeing online dating, ordering shops on, retail went online, banking had long gone online. And I thought, why can't we do this? Why can't we just change the way we work so we don't have, the crazy stuff in between? And we built the Jungle, which I've even got a T-shirt now. I only got this about a couple of weeks ago, but I've actually earned the T-shirt now. And the Jungle is it is a labour of love, but we look after just shy of 1,000 freelancers, people just like me, and probably like lots of people out there who want to work with great clients. So we manage the relationship on both sides. Good clients, good people, just doing good stuff. Despite having a very, people ask me what I do, I'm never sure how to answer that. So technically I sort of run a tech company, but I think we actually are facilitating a community. And I know people say stuff like that, but we have taken a definite difficult road in building a trustworthy community of professionals. That's the vision, and that's what we've all signed up to do. You might want to call me back years and go, oh, it was a terrible idea, don't listen to me. But
Marina, can I ask, how long the Jungle been around now since you started?
7 years from the time we started. Yeah.
And 18 years ago you start
MCBI, yeah.
MCBI.
That's right.
Can I ask a question? There's a lot of our audience is a small and medium business owner, and a lot of them just probably starting out their business. It could be the first year, second year, third year. 18 years is a long time. You look back, I started 18 years ago. Oh, I look back and 8 years ago I started the Jungle. What makes you able to keep going? You have a great career, great success with corporates. You wake up one day and then you stop and then you come up with all these great ideas. But what I really want to understand is, remove the idea first, is what do you say to yourself to be able to keep going, running your purpose and your passion? Because it's a long time. And I'm sure when you said, I want to build a platform for people with capabilities, there's a lot of rejection. Your friends probably will say, maybe better to be a film director.
Yeah. I wish I could give you like a really clear, succinct answer, because it's a really complicated answer. Probably the first thing though is you have to have a belief in what you're doing, and I don't necessarily think it needs to be a passion, but you have to have a belief. And one thing a lot of businesses, I used to do business advisory for smaller people, is that they would get distracted into passion, marketing, and all this, they look at all these other things, which are valid, by the way, they are really important. But when you ask them that really black and white, sturdy question, what problem are you solving? What problem are you solving for a customer? And a lot of them would flounder, or they would give a positioning statement. They'd been to a brand seminar, and you're going, yeah, no, and respect, and be like, yeah, no, I get all that other stuff, but what's the problem you're solving? And I think that's probably has held me steady longer than perhaps some other folks. So I think that's a really important, it's a belief. It's like, yeah, no, this is going to work. Economically, it'll work. From a trends, it'll work. From what I'm hearing from customers, it'll work. Because they will, that's a bigger picture view. The other thing I would say is really, really, really important, and I'm probably not the greatest example of it over the long career, that is looking after yourself. And by looking after yourself, I'm not talking about, reading inspirational quotes and saying, you're amazing. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about understanding your body and your mind are your biggest assets, and having a very disciplined view on how you use your biggest asset will serve everyone else. So when you see a lot of small business people, because they're committed to it, like their purpose, their business, their staff, and what have you, they will make small bad decisions around their health. And by small bad decisions, they might have 3 cups of coffee instead of 2. And that might not seem like a small thing. Oh, you think 3, who cares, whatever. Or they might forget to get those 8 hours out of sleep. But when all that starts to deteriorate, when your health, and it does over a year or two, when that deteriorates and your stress levels are permanently high, everything else falls apart. Your clarity, your sensitivity to trends, dealing with customers, even your temper, and your patience starts to rewire. And I think if I could go back to my younger self, I would be one of those people that would say, drink more water, make sure you look after yourself, physically. But for someone like me, I would have been motivated around being stronger physically, because it would have served me intellectually in the business side. I think I really lost quite a lot of time by not looking after myself. But there is a warning. There's so much stuff out there about, forget the world, you're perfect. None of us are. But I think when you're grounded and you're settled, you can actually see what your flaws are, and then you can work on it. But that would be my, and
Fantastic.
I also think you have to become street smart as well. I think at the beginning, when you're setting off on a journey, you are filled with so much love and optimism. And that's why entrepreneurs and small business they're so valuable. But the truth is, most will fail at 4-5 year mark in Australia. Anyway, it's the terrible statistics. And there is a point when your optimism can either give way to wisdom and becoming street smart, or it gives way to cynicism and you give up. And you have to make a decision when that moment arrives. When you arrive on the road and that sign's up, you make a decision which road you're going to go down. Am I going to learn from this and get better, or am I going to go the other way and get bitter? And I think that's a big thing. You either decide to get better or you decide to get bitter. And that's it's a big thing in small business because it is hard. It is way harder than people fully appreciate.
I actually like when you say it, ask this question often, what problem you actually solve for a customer. There's a lot of, in this world, there's a lot of people passionate with anything they want to do. But I think I agree with you. At the end of the day, if you're running a business, business means you require a customer. And the customer only come to you if we solve their problem. You can be passionate about creating a lot of things, but if you're unable to answer that very basic questions, then you have no business.
There's no foundation, and
there's no foundation. Yes.
And I think as a reasonably experienced business person, you can pretty much see it when the conversation moves away from what problem you're solving to, I call them that they pivot. People start then talking about their marketing, and like, I love all that, but I'm a bit dogged. I'm like, but at the core of it, we are all united by solving a problem for a customer. And Slim taught me that as a bartender. He said, we're solving the problem of people wanting a beer on a Friday night, and we're going to do it better than our competitors. But make no mistake, we're nothing else other than beer servers, but we're going to be the best. And we were the best. And we were all so proud of being the best. Yeah, I have to find Slim. I must tell him how amazing.
Slim, if you're listening, Marina can be contacted by LinkedIn.
Yeah. But interestingly, he came from a different era of service, and he wanted us to be the best bartenders. And he gave opportunity to people who wanted to strive. He didn't criticize those who want to be average, but they got a different set of shifts. But I remember he would do spot quizzes on us, which has stayed true to me. He would walk past us as bartenders and then say, what's in a grasshopper cocktail? And there was something really cool about being able to answer him. And if you couldn't answer him, you'd want to go find out. And he was very hot on product knowledge as well. He'd be, well, that's how you're going to be the best. If you know your stuff, that's how you're going to be the best. If not, you can go and look on an app or look on the book, but you won't be the best. And I was like, that's okay. I obviously wanted to be the best. So I studied every cocktail.
But it's incredible. It's incredible. As a leader, you want to make a mark on your team, right? And look at Slim from who you are today. What an incredible impact he has had in so many avenues of your own business. So I think that's a really important message for business owners. Doesn't matter what business you own, but really that customer service is what he's embedded in you. You've carried it across throughout everything. It's such an important thing.
And we worked in a really large hotel complex, and this is a real small business message. He told that message around, we were going to be the best, but he never overstated what we did. Like, he didn't turn it into some fluffy thing. He would say, we're going to be the best, right? But that same message would be with the bottle shop guys, the kitchen staff, silver service, us bartenders. And it was the same message. And the two things that he inadvertently did is he united us all. So it was really simple. We could all grasp wanting to be the best. But all the systems that sat behind that establishment were all geared up logically to deliver that outcome. So there was, and for us, we could sort ourselves out, standing around not cleaning. Is that delivering the best? Probably not. Yeah. Do we want to be? Yeah. Then probably we should clean. It's annoying, but we're going to clean. And it was just an easy place to work. It was easy because it all made sense. And then I worked in management consulting where there were lots of times none of it made sense.
I wanted to, Marina, you've mentioned a few times in all these stories, you're talking about trust and the importance of trust. Now, there's a lot of listeners that are tuning in today that want to know more about this because we know that trust is crucial in business. But when it comes to developing this trust, it can be difficult. So from all this experience you had, are there any strategies that our audience can take away and go, yep, I need to do that in my business? How do we develop this trust that you've mentioned? Because it's, people talk about values and, one of their values is trust, but are they really delivering this value? It sounds difficult. So can you explain to us, are there any strategies that business owners can implement? Is it a long-term game? Is it something that can be done overnight?
I think trust is actually quite easy to build, particularly in Australia. I think you're afforded huge amounts of trust, unlike other places of the world. But it's equally easy to break. And I think the big part, we don't talk enough about trust, and what being trustworthy is. So I think if you want trust, you have to be trustworthy. And it's a really basic concept. But the number one characteristic we get on the freelance platform is all our clients want people who are reliable, that they do what they say they're going to do. And so trust is built in business. I think one of the biggest parts around trust is consistency and being reliable. If you say you're going to do it, then you do it. And if you have that through the DNA of your business and through every plumber, every hairdresser, all of that stuff, we are just going to be consistent and reliable. I think you will naturally find trust, because your clients will go, that is a known quantity. And then the clients will send their friends there, which is word of mouth, most powerful thing, because they trust the experience they're going to get. And it's when I was studying, I was just really quick, it was a plumber. We did do a case study years ago about this plumber. It really stayed with me as well. This plumber built a business, I think it was here in Adelaide actually. Might be, doesn't matter. No relevance to the story. And this guy listened to the problem of his customers, which was his clients were frustrated that the plumbers would never turn up on time. They just never would. So he built his plumbing business around this one problem that he was solving for his customers, and that was reliable plumbers turning up on time. And he built an amazing business, like very, very lucrative. It sold for a crazy amount because he had nailed solving the problem in a really simple way, but it also garnered the whole word of mouth thing. So he didn't have to do pensioner discounts or, he didn't have to do crazy sales. He didn't do any of it because everyone was that surprised that the plumbers turned up on time that they told everyone. And they're like, oh my God, he's going to be there at 8. And he turned up at 8. It's crazy. Because that problem that exists out there, he was savvy enough to solve it. And everyone trusted him. And over time, that business grew and grew and grew with not lots of marketing, not a lot of that glossy stuff you wrap over the top. He did it because his quality of service was trustworthy. His bills were also trustworthy. They were transparent and there weren't any added extras. Great business. And it was just easy to deal with him. He then sold his business, by the way, the footnote to this story. He sold it to a large national company who didn't understand the power of that. They got rid of that. They got rid of that commitment to clients and they never, ever realized the value of that business. It's a crazy story. And you think, yeah. So I think for me, I think trustworthy is about being reliable, being selectively transparent. And by selectively transparent, by that I mean everyone has a bad day. Everyone makes a mistake. God, it happens all the time. But you have to be a bit street smart as to how you position that with clients. You don't want them to lose confidence, because you've had one bad day. And I've seen some small business, I've experienced it where I've got a tradie. I know way too much about his personal life, way too much. And he uses it as essentially an excuse for his poor, unreliable service. And I've got empathy, but he's pulling on my heartstrings. And I'm like, mate, and it's not that I don't care. I do care, but it still doesn't, I think people forget that at the end of the day, I still need my fence finished, you know, and I'm going to have a moment where I'll hug you, but that's still not going to dissolve the unfinished fence. And in my head, I would never recommend this guy. I would never refer him. I will scrutinize the bill because, you know, it's sort of like a cluster of things that go on. Yeah.
So
I don't know if
Marina,
that's
if you look back when you starting, you know, not say come back at the early starts of the business, you know, to have a transparent, consistent, and reliable business day in, day out, surely you need a level of process and an ability to, yes, you can negotiate with your clients, but there's time where you have to actually really understand what the client wants. Because the problem with the unreliable business is the expectation breakdown. The expectation breakdown between what the client thinks you will do and what you think you can do. So what's your message to our audience around this ability to actually have a simplified enough process? I'm not talking about digital process by any means, but to be able to actually run your business with consistency, reliable, and also the ability to say no as well, because the clients will want everything. You can only service a particular thing, but somewhere along the line it will break when you know starting a business.
Well, it's a bit like, not that I've done it, but it's a bit like online dating, isn't it? All these people put filters on and, you know, they're catfishing away, and all of a sudden you turn up. And I have a great story of one of my girlfriends who went to a date and the guy had no teeth. Nothing wrong with no teeth, but she was like, you should have told me that. You know, like, you should have just let me know. I could have been more prepared. But I think businesses, number one, don't catfish your clients with marketing. Don't tell them you're going to be everything when you're not, because it just breaks their heart, you know. And it does. I've had it with vendors and suppliers. I think, really, you know, why'd you do that? You know, you're a good person. You know, I can see what you're trying to do, but mate, just sort of dial it back a bit. Because sometimes what happens when a customer calls you out, you actually get a bit embarrassed, and then you can I've seen people get quite cross at the client because they've called them out, you know, for their own like that management of expectation.
Yeah.
But I think one thing is to be underrated is be proud of what you've got now. Stop, like, almost turn off the internet and just look back on everything you've got, whether it's a bakery. I've got a bakery I go to loyally because they make the best sausage rolls, and I'm gluten intolerant, but I go there, and it's a really humble little bakery. It's the best. They're the best. Prospect Bakery, big call out to them. You guys rock. And
Marina, you don't want to bring the topic of food at 10:30 a.m.
I just love them. But I just love everything about them. It's a mother and, I think it's a wife, and I don't know. It's not fancy, but it's solid and it's trustworthy, consistent, and they are proud of what they've got. You see them there every morning cleaning. They look after the place. They don't, you know, there's no fancy, glossy internet or Facebook or Instagram. It is just a good, solid business. And they're proud of what they've got. You know, they're proud. And I think there's a lot of people out maybe challenging whether you should be proud of what you've got. And I don't get that. Be proud. Like, if you're a hairdresser and you've even got customers coming in the door, you should be proud of that. And just do the best you can, like, you know, upskill, keep it, you know, keep going on that, you know, and building off what you've already got, not always just looking at the brand advice and then feeling a bit, you know, a bit disillusioned. Like, you know, people go, oh, I should be like this, or it should look like that. And you're like, no, it should look exactly the way it is right now. And you're doing a great job. And I think that's quite motivating for people when they let go of all their own self-doubt and their own heavy expectations. But processes are really, really, really important. Just, you know, and if there's nothing else, just figure out how to invoice properly. There's nothing more annoying. I had a tradie who invoiced me 4 months later and still hadn't finished the job, by the way. But And I just thought, how do you keep your cash flow going? That must be so stressful, and it must impact your whole life. But I didn't give him some unsolicited advice by saying, hey, you want to get onto Xero or something. you just want to sort your timesheets out. Pretty sure your life and your customers will be happier as well, like rather than like one big massive bill. But I think invoicing is really critical. Having good relationships with the accountants for compliance. There's so much compliance now.
Yeah.
Making sure those processes are done. And I think sales. I think sales is quite basic, despite everything you can get out there. People just want to buy good stuff that solves a problem, and you can build off that. I don't know if that answers the question, but it's just nice and trustworthy, and I think that is a big thing. Yeah.
Well, trust does form the foundation of a lot of what you're saying, Marina. And on this topic, and we've mentioned the importance of customer relationships, but I want to ask it from that tech kind of, I see you as this tech guru who's built a platform with 1,000 clients on there. I mean, that's incredible in itself. That's 1,000,
completely crazy
professionals. It is. It's amazing. It's Australian based. You've built this trustworthy platform. This idea of customer relationships and balancing, online personalization, online tools, AI. How do you maintain these meaningful customer relationships all online? That's what I want to understand, because obviously with a screen, it's more difficult. People love the face-to-face. It's easy. A plumber goes to your house, he fixes the pipes, or fixes the leak or whatever it's going to be. You go to a hairdresser, they fix your hair, you come out with a tangible product. Your hair looks great. When you're developing these online, and there's a lot of businesses on there that are online, whether you're an online florist, developing this trust, when you're not going to see the end product that's going to be delivered to someone's house, right? How do you develop these meaningful customer relationships online? Would love to understand that.
Oh, that's a big... the online world is like the Wild West. It is honestly like the Wild West.
It sounds difficult, because even I've second guessed. I've had to order an online gift for someone that was unwell, never dealt with this business before. You look at the reviews, you look at the photos. Are the flowers going to look exactly like this? You won't see, and you can't ask the person, hey, how was the gift that I sent? It cost me a fortune. Does it actually look as great as what the photo does? I think it's a difficult... It has introduced a level of complexity with customer relationships. So I want to get your view on this.
Oh, it has enormously. It is a really big issue with scaling up for us, the trustworthiness and, with individuals and also clients, by the way. No one, there's no good or bad here. Everyone's a bit Wild Westy at some point. Because the temptation's there, right? You go, I'll just cut this corner. No one's going to see me. It's a victimless crime. And, but for us who are running the platforms, we have to be aware of all of that. For us, despite being a techo, I think, my background in that space, if the guys I work with are watching this, they're going, she's not a techo. We're the techos. Hello guys, please don't criticize me later. But I think one thing I've always held very steady is technology is there to serve a human, and don't ever forget that. If at any point you're wrangling with tech, you've lost the power. It's you've got to know what the human experience is, and then find spots for technology to help it. So for us, looking at the first part of any relationship, like the verification of people, we do a face-to-face. We do a 15, 30-minute catch-up with every person. Now, we do that because it basically weeds out all the catfishes. They're terrified. They just don't turn up. They're like, great. That's the cheapest, easiest way to get rid of people who you probably don't want. And we put that at the front of the process so we don't waste any time or money with individuals on that side of it. But then we also know now, just like Uber and Airbnb and with the other platforms, we have to digitally check everyone So then we go through digital verification, which is huge huge growth area now. And then we conclude with skills verification. This is an evolving area. I'm not sure if we've got it right just yet. People just lie all the time, and I don't know why. I think, hey, don't lie, you're going to get caught out. Like, just in the freelancer world, it's pretty brutal. And if you say you're a graphic designer, then you better be one.
Yeah.
I don't know. To me, it's a bit illogical. You can't bluff. You can't bluff in freelancer world. Yeah, but it really, really must. It all comes down to tech serving us. And if I might just make a comment on AI is not a human substitute. AI mimics the human experience. But it's a darn good mimic in terms of the natural language. It's filling in weak points that people don't want to do, like text and writing, but that special thing around humans, AI can't do it. It can mimic it. And so you've got to find a spot for AI where it's okay and it's safe to mimic a human without any dire consequences. The moment AI takes over and competes with that specialness of humans, I think as a business owner, you might get into strife. Humanity will probably get into strife. No, but I think you've got to remember AI is a mimic. It's just like one of those weird minor birds, and it's powerful and it's crazy about what it can do and what it is doing. It's insane how quickly it's sweeping and how ill-prepared we all are. But it's still a mimic. Still a mimic. Yeah.
Just jump back to your business, Jungle, with the freelance. Is the service only limited to a particular area of industry, or it can service any companies out there? Is it only available in Australia, or companies in other part of the world can actually access the freelance services? How this work?
Well, technically, we're actually a platform provider. So the one that you're seeing up is our professional services proof of concept. So yeah, it's been built for Australia and the United States. That's our direction. The award we won, just to look, here it is. We won an award. I have a prop. Is an international award. So I think it's in recognition that this world of freelancing and new ways of working is a global phenomenon, and we're seeing it in all the numbers. So yeah, the only thing we do credit checks on all our clients to make sure that they're going to pay. Our clients. So we take a lot of that pain out of the process, and then it's just normal verification. To go through. The bigger vision will be a lot of those sectors where we're seeing people a bit disillusioned with the traditional employer model will still want to use their skills and contribute, but they can find new ways of doing it. And we're hoping that they'll want to come to our little community and hang out in the jungle. Well, that sounds like an ad.
You've done an incredible job. And I am looking at the time, but we did promise our listeners that we're going to talk about the power of saying no, because saying no is difficult. We know we want to build trustworthy relationships with our clients and the importance of customer relationships. But now saying no to difficult clients, it kind of goes against what we've been saying, but in a good way. We have to be able to say no. How do we navigate these situations, Marina, so that we're still maintaining a positive business relationships, but saying no to those challenging ones? Because when especially to those that are starting out and listening, they often think they have to say yes to everything, and they don't want to lose jobs, and they're dealing with difficult customers, which can wreck their mood for the entire day. But I do believe we can say no, right? We can say no. So I want to hear from you. How do we deal with these difficult situations in saying no to our clients, our customers?
Okay, so first probably 3 to 5 years, you're an apprentice. You are not a managing director. You're just an apprentice, like we all were. I still am. So you have to have that sort of viewpoint that you don't know it all. Sometimes difficult clients are the best ones to give you feedback on the weaknesses in your business. And so before you rush to say no because they're unlikable or they're pains, this is where that grounding comes into its own. We actually be grounded, stop and go, Ashley, did I miss something? Did I do a bad job? And if you can put aside all the inspirational quotes reinforcing that you're perfect, you can actually find you're quite imperfect. And that's where the growth and the learning comes from, where you go, okay, great. I'm a bit rubbish at that, or the business is, we can fix that. And onwards you go. Before you say no to the client. Now, they're all great learning spots, but you have to be really honest with yourself. You know, you have to be really honest. And saying no to a client because they're unlikable is probably a terrible threshold. I've got some dreadfully unlikable clients. Actually, no. Hello, everyone. No. I love you all. No, there are a couple that I think, every time I see their number come up, I'm like, oh, that's hard work on it. Now, there's that part of it. The second part, though, is saying no. Say you've got all that resolved and you're really happy with your business and you're feeling confident, you've made some money and everything's great. And then this client comes along, and for me, being around for so long, I just get I actually have to say, mine now is like a feeling. And it's not a feeling like around being likable, them being likable or not. It's more like these little red flags that appear, like not turning up for meetings on time, messing you around, changing the scope, not paying on time, just being a bit disordered. All of that stuff starts to really test my trust in them, because business is a transaction, right? We're both here to do something together. But when I start to see that weird behavior coming, I start to go, not sure about that. And there's one of two things I do. I either turn up the controls, so I just ratchet up the delivery. This sounds really, well, a lot of my clients be going, is that what she's doing to us? Like, we're organized. But I make sure things are watertight. So if things do go pear-shaped, and you probably find they will, you at least can get out of it quickly and easily on those parts of it. The second part, I think, the other thing I also do is if I've checked all those boxes and I know what we do, and I'm really proud of what we do, and I think they're not a match, I've learnt different sentences and language to be able to diplomatically get out of arrangements. So people can save face. And I'm not a big believer in lying. I don't tell people, oh, we're just too busy. I don't do all that stuff. But I will say things like, we've got our services around this. I'm not sure we're a match, but I can introduce you to someone else who I think might be a great selection. If clients, some of these clients are actually then quite persistent though, and they treat you like they can just book you and what have you, then I'll actually say, I have been known to say, no, we're booked out, just to try to keep a barrier up. So I can say no to that individual, but not no to the whole company. Yeah, I think for me, because we work with bigger, our client base, probably like a lot of your small businesses, you're working with bigger businesses. You have to be able to separate one person against the whole company that they represent. But I think you have to be really confident in yourself and have a grounding. And it comes back to having a faith it'll sort itself out. You can't have a whole playbook of bad clients. You'll go crazy. And you feel like you're in the wind all the time, getting knocked around by, oh, this person's complaining and no, not good. But I think you have to have confidence as well. If you're solving a problem and they want their problem solved, they're going to come back, or someone else will come back.
You know what's interesting, Marina? When I come back and while you're talking, I keep thinking, if and I see this a lot when we met with different business owner. At the end of the day, we own a business to make money. We own a business to make money at the end of the day. But the reality is, when we speak with successful business owner like yourself, you position your business to really understand what you want to, what actually you want to solve, what problem you want to solve for the customer, and in turn the customer buy your service, and in turn they pay you money. Now, because you're really clear in what you want to solve, I reckon your ability to say no outside the things you can't solve become very clear. But if my intent is just to make money, then I can be a noodle shop that can fix your plumbing when I deliver that. And it's kind of like, hey, that's actually makes sense. If I open a business, if I have a business, let's really come back to what you said earlier. What problem you actually solve for a customer? Because anything outside that you can't answer, you better say no, because you just about to enter a process where you will become a non-reliable and non-consistent business, because you cannot be a noodle shop owner that fixing a plumbing. Even though you like fixing plumbing at home, you might not be able to fix, what the client wants. And then you charge them anyway. Hey, I deliver your noodles and fix your plumbing, so it's a extra $20. Then the whole thing is
it does get confusing, and people are quite shallow. They can't figure it out. They're like, noodles and mechanics? That's right. And you get someone like me who's curious who'll go, I'll give them a go because I think it's fun. But most people will just go like, they'll go, nah, too hard, don't understand it. And they'll just move on to another noodle shop and another mechanic. Which is weird.
Good.
It is an interesting way of looking at it. I remember we had a leader on, and he very, very early on in the Leader Talk episodes, and his response to something very similar, he was saying the way to work out what you do, so why you get up every morning, is to work out what you don't do. So he flipped it on its head in that sense, and it was an interesting way, because as a business owner, if you're a noodle shop owner, Gus, and then suddenly someone's asked you to come and fix their leaking toilet, you kind of don't want to lose that customer, and you end up saying yes to everyone, and your services actually become a mess, right? So everything that you've said, Marina, it's really clear what you've got a vision, a really clear vision, and your problem that you're solving, every morning when you wake up, the problem that the jungle's solving. So for listeners that are listening in today, that why you do what you do and what your purpose is so clear. Is that the message that if you had to give our listeners, because I'm looking at the time now, one piece of advice from your, all your experience, what would it be? A key takeaway for them listening in at the moment?
Definitely know the problem that you're solving, and work every day to be a trustworthy, reliable supplier to solve that problem. The rest of it will fall into place.
Sounds really simple, doesn't it, Gus? Yet it is the key to building a strong business, and you are the evidence of that. It's been an incredible chat, and Gus, I'm going to have to hand over to you to wrap it up.
No problem. Thank you, Marina. Thank you so much for donating your time. When we have a leader and a business, a successful business owner come to our talk show and actually share their insight, and it's really clearly you demonstrate a lot of passion in what you want to do and what problem you want to solve into the market. I mean, in my opinion, you choose a very complex offering and services, because your product is actually dynamic. Your product is not something you make and then it's stay. The expectation of your customer and the product grow every single day. What they need yesterday might not be able to be provided tomorrow. So congratulations in running a successful business named Jungal. We start the conversation by you saying you have to believe in what you're doing. If you want to run a successful business, you have to believe in what you're doing. What problem you actually solve for a customer. You need to understand this, and which I really like, because in the absence of understanding what problem we want to solve to a customer, you can have a great product, great service, great anything, but then it create another problem, because you become a non-consistent service provider, or a business that is not consistent. Because like what we discussed in the analogy, you do not want to be a noodle shop restaurant that can fix plumbing and then charging extras without the customer even know that you're charging that. Building trust key to successful business. This is what you said. And being transparent, consistent, and reliable is the foundation to be trustable business. If you own a business, then be proud with what you got. I actually like that as well. Your ability to say no can help you running your business well. However, you need to understand why you want to say no. This is not about whether you like or you don't like your customer, whether the customer is angry customer or not. This is, you really need to understand why you say no, and it come back again. You will be able to say no successfully if you understand what problem you want to actually solve to the customer. So Marina, thank you so much for your insight. Natalie and I wish you mega success for your business, Jungal, for many, many years to come.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity to talk to you guys. It's been fun.
All right, it's been wonderful. Thank you so much, Marina. And thank you everyone for tuning in. For more information on Leader Talk and for some great resources to help your business grow, check out brainiact.com.au. Bye, everyone.